I have always been so curious about the lulav, etrog, willow, and myrtle. Rather, I should say that I was disinterested. I felt it was so strange that it really was not. It was a leftover from another time. And growing up in Sydney, Australia, whilst I certainly did celebrate the festival of Sukkot, the palm and the four species seemed just too strange, too cultic, too cult-like. It was not digestible to my Western paradigms. And for a long time, I've really had that view, and only in maturation have I understood that these represent a mastery of cycles, that it is not cultic, it is demonstrative of a mastery. It is the understated, ritualized demonstration of pre-knowledge of a subject that in doing so presumes that you know the other things, and that doesn't meet the eye in a ritual. The four species dates, which is possibly the fruit from the Garden of Eden, but certainly it was a major source of nutrition for all Middle Easterners and desert people and crosses of the desert, and it was traded too, and it can be well preserved, and so that it really was a staple, a fruit staple, and so important as such in the region. And the other was the myrtle. The myrtle is used throughout. The many species of myrtles are used for medicinal purposes, in many different medicinal purposes in the ancient world. That with the willow, which was the ability to domesticate the rivers and the ability to create, as the psalmist says, to rest on and to grow like the trees on the river. The ability to harness the river was the basic technology of the Chinese. They harnessed the Yellow River and the Yangtze River, and the first civilizations in the Middle East were on the Jordan River. Even Neanderthals settled the Jordan River. The use of the river, and it demonstrates the domestication of the river, is a very important part of the region, and the evolutionary skills and the mastery of the different trees and the bushes and the branches and the medicinal purposes of all of not the fruits, but rather the bush of the bush world. And these too were taken in and demonstrated in the temple. In fact, the entire Israel at this time would come in and demonstrate and show their prowess and their mastery over their use, their domestication, the use of the branches of the willow, of the fruits, of the etrog, the mastery of the fields, of the citrus fields. And they would come and demonstrate this in a highly ritualized pilgrimage and conducted around spraying of water and celebrations. And the high priests also would be required to know the details of how these were grown, how they were seeded, how they were spliced, how they were enjoined, how they could be multiplied, what different species for different growing areas. And all of this was centralized and archived in Jerusalem and shared with people from without. So this was really a point of cross-fertilization and cross-harmonization and the recycling of the agricultural knowledge of the region, and done so in what appears just to be ritual. So beyond cult, there was an incredible sharing of knowledge and a demonstration of happiness of the knowledge. And this is the type of the types of ideas which are enjoined in religion and in ritual. Ritual is really just one part of the toolbox of religion. Religion uses, as the prophets did, many different types of mediums for theatre and language and actions and remonstrations and analogies and parables and warnings and assertions. They use the full spectrum of linguistic expressions. And so to the high priesthood, the cyclic nature of religion, that it expresses itself in one class and then another class and another class, shows that on one hand the continuity of an idea but with different peoples. It allows for human mobility whilst ideas remain the same, and that is a structure of language and of theatre and of law that allows it. It endows it with transgenerational ability. It survives over long periods of time, and the idea of a priesthood that brings together many of the sciences and the technologies and the memories of ancient times really does resonate with the biblical story and the cyclic nature of the way we instruct ourselves. The example in Hoshana Rabbah, the festival we celebrate today, is a play on events that transpired in the times of Joshua, as he surrounded the city of Jericho and went around the city 7 times. And the ritual in the temple in Jerusalem, where priests would go around the altar 7 times, has been translated in modern day Judaism in the synagogue, where we go around the platform in the center of the synagogue 7 times, and we with the book of the Torah and dancing and celebrating. We see the recycling and the reinterpretation of ideas continually, and we see that in the temple there were a collection of rituals, even world rituals from all around the world, celebrating and demonstrating and actualizing and articulating and inviting for all pilgrims to come and to observe. And the idea was that this would be a place in the future where these things would be observed and ritualized. And this idea seems to ring relevant in the 21st century. In an age of directionlessness, where great change has happened in unexpected places, where reality really isn't the same as it was even 10 years ago, where with our new toys and tools and instruments, our phones and computers, we are able to do wonderful things. Life takes on a completely different structure, and one can imagine that something very otherworldly that draws back to our roots in the families of the earth, in tribes, in a collection of history and archives of rituals. This may be something that humanity thirsts for, something authentic, something which has not been overwhelmed by the incredible changes, but something that also is deeply meaningful. And it is not impossible that the cultic idea of the rebuilding of the third temple in Jerusalem is not beyond a dream, but is a reality that many peoples may seek for their own interest and welfare, maybe even and quite possibly the Arab world, the Muslim world, who may want to upgrade the 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 clout of their voice by being a champion of technology and of human dignity and of the radiance of the infinite God, the unnamed, to inspire humanity, so that Islam and Christianity may not be those that first oppose this idea. But first and foremost, I suppose it is Jewish thinking. What is the idea of the temple and its relevance to today in the 21st century? And that debate is going to be very important. And I believe that it should celebrate technology and instrumentalization and ancient knowledge and service in the great dignity that only the priests and the records and the archives of the priests of 1,000 years knew how to do. And I have faith in the legacy of those that preceded, that they understood and that they continued a ritual like this because they understood its function. And it is even said in the Talmud that the temple was believed to be the very source of the existence of the world. So that type of claim would certainly demand exploration. What did it mean? And if in fact it was the preservation of world and human technology and the art of technology and the order of technology and the priorities and the individualization of technology, that every person presented, and that it is not corporations, and you cannot send a corporation to represent. So the theology, which is derivable from the imagery that exists right here in the city of Jerusalem, I think is world shattering. Well, perhaps one shouldn't say shattering, but it resounds with meaning and with potential to capture the imagination if it is constructed in a way which is truly intuitive with the human condition, with the times, and to interpret the challenges of the times. So I think that the temple in Jerusalem is a goer. I think that the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and Saudi Arabia would be delighted. I think that it would be a place of pilgrimage for the world if Israel and Saudi Arabia could agree to such a remarkable thing. Nothing on the planet could be an obstacle. As we know the terrible history of the region, the change, the correction, and the sharing of knowledge, which the idea of the temple could endow, the sharing of knowledge with the entire world, with the entire peaceful world. This is no less the expression of the prophets and the prophets were deeply involved in the affair in international affairs and in the affairs of the court. And so again, the ambitions which ring in the words of the prophet may be possible, and not only possible, they may be instructive to the present. So the relics of a bygone age, that lulav and etrog, those things that I thought were cultic and not for me, even as a Jew that embraced his Judaism. Today, I see that these are the signatures of ancient civilizations and ways that people fraternized and shared, and that it belonged to a an a establishment which at its destruction people sang and praised how worthy it was that it had survived for hundreds of years, that it truly was magnificent. They said that those who had not seen the images of what took place in the temple on in these days in Jerusalem had not seen remarkable things in their lives. So that indeed for those who had seen remarkable empiric things, possibly Jerusalem was a sight to behold. So that it is not surprising for someone uh, who seeks to be a theologian, a thinker for the future, to consider the role of the temple in this future, the future of Israel, and the future of the world, of the future of religion, the future of spirituality, and what will that mean, and how will it be represented? How will the various or the thousands, the myriads of ideas be expressed? So again, this is a question for political thought and new approaches. And the paradigm that I came up with was a paradigm that existed in the Bible, and that was of the tabernacle, which combines the 39 major cutting edge technologies of the ancient Near East and highly ritualize them. And for me, that is the emblem, the image of what the temple, the third temple in Jerusalem, should come to express. To go back to first causes, the great idea of the transition of society using instruments, and then, because these instruments were so important, then ritualizing them in gold and silver, and then carrying them from one civilization of slavery to a civilization of freedom. I think these are the images in which a third temple could gain consensus throughout the rational and the humane world. And I will put in a comment that I think this can only be done in peace and cooperation. I don't think that there is any way possible in the religious imagination that this can be done without complete peace and cooperation and the will of all peoples relating to it. And not least the people of Israel, who are very much divided on the subject, and it is considered to be a radical or a ridiculous or a naive discussion even to have. So that it could take a long time, but it could also be quickly. The Arab world, the Muslim world, the Christian world, and the Palestinians could all gain from a era of great prosperity, which is in the DNA of the Hebrew thinking and the biblical tradition to imagine, so that it is a win-win situation, and uh, and even were it to be agreed by the sides, the relevant sides, it would take a long time. And the process in which one achieves this incredible idea is the process that one should explore and practice, and that is of great technology, abounding ability to solve our problems, a crafting of algorithms that address individual needs, and quick and timely solutions, and to respect time and rights and feelings that have to be designed and imprinted into the software of artificial general intelligence. So the great era ahead of us is both in designing it and both in agreeing that it can be achieved, and in parallel creating the fundamentals that will allow for it to be sustained, and the religious, theological, long-term fundamentals that will allow such an era of plethora and of surplus to be sustained. And I think that that's a very important point, the sustainability, because we, as Jews, have seen the cycles of ups and downs, and also of destruction. And the idea of the third temple would be not a quick dash in the night, but rather a sustained 1,000-year era of great peace and prosperity.